My name is Christian Karasevich, and I'm the founder and CEO of SocialChefs.com. Tonight, joined by Nick Rishwain, my co-host. I think Nick was on vacation last week. It was his birthday, and so this week we've got Craig Carpenter on, and Craig's a good friend of mine. Craig and I met at, I'm not sure which conference. I think it might have been Social Media Week Lima. I know we were both there recently speaking. But I want to bring everyone on real quick, and just a heads up, by the way, before before we start the show, just do us a favor, hit that share button, share out the link to the show, invite your friends. For instance, you can just @tag somebody by typing the @ sign and then their name. If you're in the comments, you can do that. You can hit the share button, but this show is all about you. It's not about, it's not about us saying, hey, here's all the social media news. We want to do this for you. We want to help you as, if you're a business owner, we want to help you grow your business and, keep on top of all the social media news. So I'm going to say a quick hello. Hi, everyone. And I'm going to bring Nick up here. So Nick, you're live.
Am I live? Okay. Sorry, everybody. I'm always a little bit behind because I'm watching over on the Facebook page. Again, I'm Nick Rishwain here with our guest tonight, Dr. Craig. Very happy to have you. Thank you, Nats, for for watching us from the beginning. And Craig Carpenter. Craig, you and Christian, how do you guys know each other? Tell me a little bit about that. Catch me up here on where you guys met.
Yeah, he was mentioning actually it was a recent conference. We got to know each other a lot better, but we met way back in the day in social media marketing world. And probably before that, even, just had connected online through mutual friends. And you know how that goes. You just keep getting to know people more and more.
More and more, that's right. And tell me a little bit about what about your business, Craig. What is it that you do?
Well, that's probably more than we have for the entire show, but
sure.
Basically I've been what I'm calling a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I've run several businesses in my life, everything from 3D animator on up to I was a wedding photographer for 7 years, and then most recently in the past few years I've been working on a startup that aims to help people create social media and online graphics faster and easier than ever before. So I've been working at that for a while, and most recently we relaunched it with a lot of updates and kind of a complete rebuild with everything that I've learned and all the feedback that we've got from the customers, and that's at relaythat.com. So that's my main project I'm working on now.
Excellent. And so you really have been a serial entrepreneur. And it sounds like a wide variety of different topics that or different industries or sectors that you've worked in.
Yeah, for one reason or another, I either kind of get really satisfied at what I'm doing, but then also like the challenge of building things up. So I've kind of taken things to a certain level and then said, well, what's next? What else can I tackle? And the one thing I will mention is it's interesting. I've kind of thought a lot about the distinction between self-employed and entrepreneurship. And I'll definitely say that like entrepreneurship to me feels a little bit more like when you start working with a team or when you're really trying to scale a company versus what I was doing before, maybe working with 30 people a year. That felt a little bit more like self-employed, and even before that, just kind of working for some different companies. So,
right.
But yeah, it's not to go too much on a tangent, but yeah, I've been thinking a lot about the differences there.
Right. Very cool. Well, and we do appreciate you a great deal being here, agreeing to come on tonight. I see that we've got some of our friends and former guests watching on Facebook Live. Got Dr. Durgam showing up right now. Barb Tomlin's in the house, and it looks like we lost Dr. Durgam for a minute, but she's back now. So I think we'll kick right into some topics tonight. Looks like we're moving along just fine, and we're doing a little change up of the show here tonight, folks. We're going to try doing fewer topics so that we can do a little bit more depth on the topics, maybe answer some questions in the chat, and see how that works out for you. A couple less topics, but we're still going to do 2 tools at the end of the show. So we would appreciate it if you share it out. Hi, Mo. Thanks for joining. Welcome back, Barb. Let me know if you can see us. Barb was telling us that she couldn't see or hear, but I'm seeing us just fine and hearing us just fine on Facebook Live. Our first topic for tonight is messenger ads. Messenger ads going global. This is interesting. I haven't noticed any ads pop up in my messenger feed yet, but I'm going to be looking for them after I read this here. So this was from Facebook, and our topics tonight are strictly Facebook and Instagram. And this came out this week, July 11th. And what it says is messenger ads are going global after promising tests in Australia and Thailand. We're expanding the beta further. We'll now offer businesses around the world a way to use Facebook targeting to extend their reach to people in Messenger. This means businesses of every size, and this is from the Facebook blog, get a new tool for creating meaningful connections with customers and prospects. More than 1.2 billion people use Messenger every month, which gives marketers an opportunity to expand the reach of their campaigns and drive more results. And they have a little 15-second video clip in this blog post showing how it'll work, but people will see the Messenger ads in their home tab of their Messenger mobile app. When they tap on an ad, they'll be sent to the destination chosen during the ad's creation. It could be a website or a Messenger conversation. And then the ads will also be available in Ads Manager and Power Editor. So if you're using automatic placements, Messenger is included for all supported campaign objectives. Like Audience Network, Messenger ads are an additional placement option when businesses run ads on Facebook. I think that sums it up. I'm not going to go into any. I actually read probably too much of that post, but this is just one more advertising platform for Facebook. We knew it would come eventually, and it has shown up. What are your thoughts on this, Craig? Do you think that this is a good move for Facebook? Do you think it's good for businesses? Are you going to be looking for ads in Messenger?
The key term that I actually pulled out of what you said is meaningful connections.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really see those as meaningful connections unless you have a message that is perfectly connecting with your audience. If you're pushing chocolate ice cream through there at the same time that I'm looking through chocolate ice cream, you could probably argue that that's a very meaningful connection to me, and then I can hit that button and order it. But it actually reminds me, I was just recently back when we were at this conference with Christian. I went to Cedar Point, which is like one of the biggest or coolest roller coaster theme parks up in Sandusky, Ohio. And for the very first time, I hadn't been there in a while, so I'm not sure when they did this. I was standing in line, and I was actually getting advertising pumped at me for the very first time while I'm just trying to enjoy myself. And I think that a lot of people would react the same way. They've moved into Messenger just to try and communicate better with people. In fact, I do a lot of my email communications through Messenger because it's much quicker. And if I'm being totally honest, I like that people can see things quickly. And I'm always surprised at how quickly I can put a message into something, and almost within a couple seconds, it's very scary that people actually see that and respond immediately. But I think that this is just more of the same stuff of just advertising and the amount of noise that's out there. So I'm not sure if I really answered your question of whether or not I'm looking forward to it.
Right.
But, I mean, how much more advertising can we create meaningful connections with? I think it's, in my opinion, just more noise that's going to be harder to get around. It may be good for businesses to reach people, in a very targeted way, but we also have different ways to do that through sponsored posts. And the last thing I'll say is my feed recently, I've noticed every 5 messages seems to be a sponsored post. So how much more advertising can we push at people that are trying to use Facebook more as an entertaining platform?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. It's funny that you picked up on meaningful connection as well, because that's what I picked up on. I was like, that's interesting, because I've never really tied advertising with the phrase "meaningful connection." Those two have not been. I don't see those two as necessarily connected. It would be. I guess. What are your thoughts on this?
So overall, I think. So if I'm looking at messenger ads, I think that messenger ads. I kind of think the technology is actually moving too fast because, as you mentioned, there are too many places to be able to put ads, for instance, and I'm glad that there are now more opportunities to put ads in these places, but I think you really still run into the same issue with a lot of businesses. They hardly understand how to run regular ads. Now they're having another option to run messenger ads. It really gets back to, the whole heart of things, which is storytelling. And I'm going to kind of tie this into advertising a little bit, but storytelling in the sense that if I want to run ads and I want to target them at people, like people are going to still do the same thing they're doing on regular ads that they're going to do on messenger ads. They're not being creative with how they are running their ads. So I like the idea of this to a certain extent. It gives me another placement, but I'm not thrilled about the fact that it's yet another place to get targeted with ads. I'm looking at this, for instance, this video that's on Facebook, and I don't really, here's the thing. I feel this is almost becoming, and I'm trying to kind of come up with a good example of this, but I feel this is becoming one of those places where people are then going to not want to use the platform because it's overrun with ads. It's like going to somebody's website and they're having, you got a sidebar ad, you got a pop-up ad. Before you can even watch the video now, like you've got an ad playing, and what are you looking for? You're not looking at the ad. You're like, where do I find the pause button? Where do I find the mute button? The sound? So that's what I think is going to happen with this, unless Facebook is very careful with how these things are controlled.
That's I agree. I think it's overkill, and to tell you the truth, Mo Lilienthal, who was here just a second ago, and I we're communicating today, and rather than email him, I just went to Messenger, shot him a message, but I did it from desktop. And I'm in front of a desktop or a laptop at all times. So I'm less on the mobile app, and I'm like, go ahead, put it on the mobile app, because I'm generally in front of a desktop, and I don't need to see that ad, because for me it's for that quick communication with those people that I'm interacting with, and I don't need the extra headaches of more ads. Absolutely. So we'll see where that goes with those people that I'm interacting with. And I'm getting. Is anybody else getting any slowness on the Facebook Live feed tonight? Are you watching, Christian? I'm wondering if it's just my connection and that's it. I don't know if
I know Facebook Live can be somewhat delayed sometimes, but again, I mean, we're also broadcasting, from different connections, so it might have dropped for a couple seconds there and come back in. So.
Just checking. So our next story, next item up is also a Facebook issue. As I mentioned, we're doing 3 Facebook stories and an Instagram story today, and this is live from Facebook Spaces, a new way to share VR with friends. This came out this week. It came out yesterday, and the blog post is a little distracting, because it almost, until the very end, it basically sounds like anybody could do this. But let me lead with: you need an Oculus Rift, and then you need the computer that can support an Oculus Rift in order to do this.
So how much is that? Before we get into it, how much is that?
Yeah, well, they said, so at the bottom they said they are going to have a summer discount on the Oculus Rift, and the Touch are now available at $399 for a limited time. But I've heard of people, and I don't know the most recent numbers on this, but I've heard about people beefing up their computers to support the Rift is more than $1,000, and sometimes more than something nearing $2,000. I don't know if that's an accurate number now, or if that price has come down. So, in order to do this, you're going to have to spend some money. Nevertheless, I watched Joel Comm do this yesterday, and it's very cool. So this article starts with, thanks to the immersive power of virtual reality, Facebook Spaces lets you feel like you're spending time with your friends in person, no matter where they are. Starting today, you can share live video on Facebook from Facebook Spaces to give the people you care about a window into your VR world. So this is a combination of virtual reality and Facebook Live. Whether you're touring exotic locations across the globe in 360, collaborating in a virtual reality, or a virtual market masterpiece, or riffing on a viral video, the people who matter to you most can now follow along in real time on Facebook. And there's a video. I don't know if we're playing that video. Yeah, you're showing some of that. It is really cool stuff, but I think it's going to be limited to those who already have. Those who already have an Oculus Rift or who are really into VR and willing to make the purchases necessary to play this. But I was watching this yesterday during lunch, and I thought it was really quite cool how you could participate in this VR experience, even though I was watching in 2D. What are your thoughts on this, Craig?
It actually just reminds me of Silicon Valley, which I've been following up on the show a little bit, and I think it's my initial reaction, and maybe this is just partially of what we were just talking about with this whole idea of all the marketing in the world. I think it's going to be yet another place that people can either be entertained or to promote themselves and their businesses. And I can already see the headlines of VR experts that position themselves that say, in order for you to be successful and here's the headline: in order for you to be successful and grow your business, you've got to be on VR. And
right.
and what I've been talking to a lot of small businesses and people that want attention for what they're doing, and I know that's not like the cornerstone of your show here, but kind of my reaction is just that, it used to be Meerkat, and then everybody wanted Periscope, and then everything was Snapchat. And I think it's just another stage or a rung in the ladder of something that is going to be really cool. But the one thing about this one is it sounds like it's not very accessible to people that don't have money. So maybe fast forward 3 years from now, VR will be a commonplace. But I just shared a video today that was augmented reality of someone that was actually measuring the space of a kitchen floor so that they knew how much tile to buy. Right. Uses like that, I think, could really, for augmented reality and VR, could really position people as forward-thinking people for their business. But these spaces where you're just encouraging for people to entertain themselves, and then the fact that they probably don't have enough money or have access to this technology, I think it's a little premature to think that this is going to be the next big thing in this particular way. Everything will evolve eventually, right? So
that's
either
right.
It'll be this or some sort of form of it. But I think that we will definitely have a lot of people trying to use and promote businesses. I think it goes back to what Christian was saying. Story and creating an experience will be some of the coolest things that come out of this, in my opinion.
I agree, and I like to tell people, because you're right, you're going to hear a lot of those, you're going to see a lot of those people come up and say, I'm a VR expert for business now. And I like to remind people that you can't really make what I do sexy, okay? You can't bring in 360 and still watch me in front of a computer, or bring in VR and watch me in front of a computer and think, this really needed to be shown. I'm glad Nick's doing behind the scenes of him sitting in front of in front of a computer. So, certain businesses, this may be very beneficial. Mine isn't one of them, and I don't think there's a story that will be told that will really or a technology that could be added to watch Nick sit behind his desk, or sit at his desk and be on the computer. Christian, what are your thoughts on that?
Again, I think that. So this is a real, on the surface, this is a fantastic idea. I love the way.
It's a great idea.
I love the examples that are shared here. I like the fact, the one that I thought that actually was really sweet was the animated GIF that they have in the middle of the page, and they have person doing, I think they're doing VR office hours, which I think is fantastic. And then what they're doing is they're pulling in a card, and if you notice on that card, it's a comment from the Facebook post. And, I mean, for instance, like that's perfect for this kind of show. We could easily, hey, we're in VR, and we pull in, we pull in somebody's question, for instance, that they ask. Like we can do that now, but it looks so much neater having it in the, in the VR space here. But as you mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of things that are really kind of sort of buried, and that's the fact that it's very expensive to do this sort of thing. If you want to do this, you have to have the equipment, you have to have the, you have to have the computer, you've got to have the headset, you've got to have what else? Let's see, you got to have, a very, 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 very high bandwidth internet connection. I will definitely say for something like this. In that sense, I think a lot of businesses are not going to have that. They're gonna have to hire somebody, and I will say the same thing again. I mean, it comes down to the same thing with social media marketing. People wanting to build a blog or a website, same exact thing. People are going to cut corners. They're going to want to cut corners wherever they can. They're not going to want to pay for any of the things in most cases. They're not going to want to pay, for instance, to do their website the right way versus doing it, with shared hosting, for instance, if you can help it. From a social perspective, they're going to do what they think is the right thing, and they're not going to get the results. VR is going to be the same thing. People are going to try. They're going to hit that wall. And so I think overall, I love this idea, but I think it's, there's got to be some sort of, and this you and I talk about this all the time. There's a data issue here going on with all of these things. In this case, it's data and money. Those types of, those resources are not keeping up with the technology.
Correct.
And so I think overall it's fantastic, but those pieces need to be worked on. So it's kind of moving too fast again.
I think this will end up being a consumer-driven thing, and when the technology prices come down enough for enough consumers to get it, then it'll be a more viable avenue for businesses to show their creativity.
And if I'm a business, for instance, like right now, the one thing I do is I pay attention to, one, check out this sort of thing. It's not to say, hey, I got to go out and buy all this equipment right now. By the way, I think the Oculus, I think Facebook came out with an article also today about how they were trying to get down to $200 for the equipment, for the Oculus piece, not for
the headset itself. Right.
So if I'm a business right now, here's what I would do. This is a neat space, but I don't see this being viable for most businesses, or most businesses are looking to tap into social. If I'm a very large B2B company, I'm not even tapping into this probably. So I think for now it's going to be a sit on the sidelines thing. See what other people are doing, start to dream about what people are doing, and then start to make some just jot down some notes and some ideas about how you think you could use this, so that when the prices come down, you can pounce on it.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd like to offer a potential takeaway that I learned this past month as well. So at that conference, I had a chance to talk to several business owners, and I think that my perception is that they have this, I know this is a common thing, the FOMO, the fear of missing out. Mm-hmm. They have so many people in so many different channels that, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but there is this idea that you should be everywhere to be a success or to be heard and to be louder and to spread yourself across all these channels. The reality, I think, of most businesses is not just the cost, but the resources. They don't even have the time to check out or even install a lot of these channels and even understand them. From Snapchat to this new platform and things like that. And one in particular that I was talking with her. They were doing really well just by creating a hashtag for their barbecue restaurant and being really intentional. We came up with this idea together to put a hashtag on a slip of paper and give that out and encourage people to take selfies and things like that. Mm-hmm. And the reason I bring all this up is that I think the number one thing businesses need to ask themselves is, are my customers actually on these platforms before I jump right in? Before I'm going to jump into live streaming, I first need to understand if I'm even comfortable on a camera, or if my customers are even checking out live streams. Maybe my customers would respond more to a phone call from me. And I'm not saying that it needs to be one or the other, but I think people need to be intentional with asking themselves, where are my customers, and doing the research and asking them where do they spend time before they just jump from one platform to another.
I think that's a great point. Not every piece of technology is going to be applicable to your business. Right. And you don't need to use every new social media feature to promote your business. You really need to do some digging. And if you're not yet using Instagram successfully for your business or Facebook for your business, then don't worry about tons of others. Start where you think your folks are. And if you're in a barbecue business, you probably want to have pictures and videos and things like that on Instagram.
And by the way, a couple of quick points here. So one of those, by the way, Craig, this is a great point you made. One of those things is, for example, if I'm a business, as Craig mentioned, write down the hashtag on a slip of paper. A lot of times restaurants, a lot of times businesses do this. They print out a flyer, they put the hashtag on it, and they have it in a select location or maybe a couple locations throughout the business. But by writing it down, that actually presents you, the business, an opportunity to interact with your customer. And you don't have, as Craig mentioned, you don't have to be everywhere. So you could be on, for example, using it on, say, like Instagram, and you give somebody that paper and you tell them, hey, we're on Instagram, and we'd love it, if you really like our food, we really love it if you tweet us out. Here's our Twitter, here's our Instagram account. Teach them how to, tag somebody. So type the @ and then the name, and then tell them to use the hashtag. And right there, that person, I think, will be like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. They'll probably take the chance to check it out because you told them about it versus saying, hey, here's my flyer. I'd really like it if you went and shared something. And by the way, the second part I wanted to mention is, if you're not sure if your customers are talking about your business on these sites, go do a search. Go to the site, look up the name of your business. If you're on, for instance, Instagram, use the search. Same thing with Twitter. Use advanced search. Facebook, same thing. Use search. Look up who's talking about your business, and that will actually give you some indicators of where people are actually, where they're actually talking about you at. And if you have Google Analytics installed on your website, you can also go in there and see which social media channels are driving the most traffic for you back to your own site. That can also be another indicator.
Right. That's great. And Eddie Garrison in the chat says businesses should not be everywhere on social. They need to be loyal to their audience, not a platform.
Mm-hmm. That's a great way to put it. Quote that. Yep. Quote it and put it on Twitter.
Tweet that out, Eddie.
Yep.
So let's move on to our next story. This is topic 3 is Facebook is getting ready to test paid subscriptions with publications. Now, I think Christian's going to know almost instantly my feeling on this topic, but we'll see how everybody else feels. This is from Digiday. This came out July 10th, and Facebook is moving ahead on plans to let people subscribe to publications through instant articles. Nothing's final yet. The current thinking is that it will support publications with metered paywalls and freemium models. These options would seem to accommodate metered publications, including New York Times, Wall Street Journal, The Economist, which make a certain selection of articles free and put the rest behind the paywall. Facebook seems to have made other concessions to publishers. They'll have access to all subscriber data according to the source of this article, which publishers want so they can understand their audience better. This is a controversial proposal to let people buy bundles of publications from different companies is now off the table. Publishers are also expected to have full control over pricing. So this is an interesting... This is a story that I think Christian and I started following really back in, I believe it was January when they started talking about publications. What was that called? Yeah, as part of its charm offensive, Facebook in January launched the Facebook Journalism Project, which involved working with publishers to understand what they want to get from the app. Publishers have been seeking ways to sell subscriptions since Facebook rolled out instant articles in 2015. And so I'm going to be real brief here in my analysis of this, and that is I don't read instant articles. Craig, what are your thoughts on this?
I think we've already opened the Pandora's box of free content. People downloading free software through, quote, illegal sites if you're, depending on your stance of whether you think everything should be free, content should be free. People downloading movies or getting it very cheaply in Netflix. Netflix, I think, is a really good example of someone that's curated a place of very important content in people's lives, that they binge watch content, and then I guess you could say that they have a paywall there. I think that this content better be pretty good because you download apps, and pretty much all apps I think are the freemium model. Right. Even in my company, where I've been creating this startup in this business, in conversations with my customers, a lot of them expect some sort of a free trial or some sort of a freemium plan to get going, and I think that we've already blown that out of the water, and that's probably why a lot of these traditional publications are trying to move more towards a paid model online. I think it's really hard to go back once people expect that content for free. And if they want to be entertained, they're just going to find their entertainment for free.
Yeah, I agree. Christian, what are your thoughts?
So, I have a feeling, again, I think this is the whole, still the race to the bottom for everything. The race to zero,
right.
Basically. If you look at, some of the names that are here, you've got, New York Times, you've got, all your standard sites, The Economist, Hearst, you got all of these big name companies, but what are they basically doing? In most cases, they're reporting on something that, as Craig just mentioned, you can get for free somewhere else, because for every company, every business you have that is, that's this well established, business that's been around for hundreds of years or whatever. Now you also have the player that's just entering the market that says, "Hey, I'll give it away for free." Because there's a long-term play into it or something to that effect. They're not trying to sell, and make a couple dollars here or a couple cents, I guess, here and a couple cents there. The other thing you also have to look at here, and this is, this is actually really important, I think, is that payments are complicated. This is mentioned in the article because when they go through a smartphone's app store, the store takes 30% cut. So that's why I mentioned the whole race to the bottom. Take 30% out of a subscription. Well, how many times? I mean, I say this all the time. How many times you look at a magazine, for instance, and they're like, "Hey, you can get a year of this for $5.99, for instance." Okay, then you take then you take the 30% of that. Okay, so $6. That's what $4.20 that it basically is being made. By the time you break that up, it's not very much. You have to sell a whole bunch of content to get people, to actually be able to, generate any revenue off of that. I mean, it's really, really low. So I don't know. I don't really see this working. I mean, it's got to the whole model's got to change, or in this case, I actually think the business needs to change their model.
Right.
As a result,
it's kind of like think of some of the best produced podcasts in the world and how popular Serial was. Mm-hmm. Nobody paid to listen to Serial. All that content was free. So I think that the one thing I'll add is just make better content. Make content worth paying for. And then I think people will pay for that, but
That's
trying
right.
to create and paywall everything for normal stuff that people expect for free is to your point, Christian. Is just I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, I think my point of leading with the I don't even use instant articles was, I don't know how many people do. It sounds like the two of you have probably used it far more than I have, but I've never used it. I get probably the vast majority of my news through Twitter, and through some free. And if I get taken to the Wall Street Journal and it's a paywall, I either just, all right, well, I don't need to read that article. I'm sure I'll find something else out, or I'll hashtag whatever that trending topic might be, and I get fed it in little bits and pieces, and I can usually figure out or find it on AP or something like that on a different site. So this is really this item here is not applicable to me. I think publishers, I can understand them wanting to find a way to get paying customers through this, but it's not applicable to my usage.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say one. Sorry, there. I think there's a little bit of a lag there, but I think that also one thing I'll add here is so many people have content shock. At least I know that I have, and I think that going through my feed, I think people are learning what I would call the quote unquote real stories from social media now. If there's breaking news, and I'm on Twitter, sometimes I'll find out about it 2 hours before it's actually on the TV. Mm-hmm. And I think that people, there's this general distrust now with all of the clickbait articles that are out there and all this different stuff. I think most people, if they want real news, they're going to talk to their friends. They're going to have hashtag communication because that's all in real time. I think that the other thing to add to this is if you're going to put something beyond a paywall, I mean, how breaking could that content be when now it seems that all news is delivered through conversation at a global scale? And you're getting the real story often, sometimes from people that are actually on the ground. We all have, we're all journalists. We all have phones. We're all going to tape things. And I think everything has been democratized now, especially journalism to some degree.
Yeah, and I think that's where Christian and I saw the Facebook Journalism Project going initially, and I still think that it will go that way. I think it's less for the publishers and more for Facebook to drive journalism by citizen journalists. Eddie Garrison mentions, he said, he asked this question, so if someone were to share or tweet out a piece of content from a paid subscription site, would another user has always been when I've shared something from a paid site, I'll get a note back from somebody saying, I can't access this. Why did you share it?
And that's a good point.
And there's here's the other thing with something like that. There's a general lack of understanding or knowledge, I guess, about paywalls as well. I think a lot of people, they get to a site and I think people are expecting the content to be free. To not have to pay for something, they're expecting. For instance, hey, Nick shared an article. I should be able to I want to read that. I click on your link because I trust you, and now I'm getting a paywall. What is this? They
think I'm scamming them.
Right. It discredits Nick. And then, by the way, so speaking of, in addition to something like this, like we mentioned, if you have to subscribe to get something, the other thing that could also possibly come out of this is you got that 30% coming out as an app download, as an app store thing. Well, let's say Nick's the one who shared it, for instance, and let's say it's a paywall. Well, Nick's probably going to say, hey, I want a piece of the pie. So, this pie is going to get, super, super, super small, I think, overall with this content. I think for me, the real question is, where's this line between, what should I pay for, really? Because, for instance, if it's breaking news, I shouldn't have to pay for breaking news if it's informative information, that's out there. Why should I have to pay to see, oh, hey, you want to see the weather report today? You got to pay for the weather, or hey, there's some sort of situation in your area where you're at. Why should I have to pay to get that? That kind of seems a little that seems to me hey, that should be available to everyone, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of societal questions around this with whether or not people should be able to or could afford an Oculus Rift, or whether they have to pay for news. There's so many questions that come up in my mind about shouldn't everybody have access to certain things, to your point, Christian. So
insurance,
that point.
Yeah. So by the way, go ahead, Nick.
No, go ahead.
I was just say, if I'm a business, for instance, okay, so we know New York Times, we know these kinds of sites, they're kind of looking at ways to monetize their business again, basically to juice their business because as we know, a lot of people aren't paying for newspapers and subscriptions that sort of stuff. If I'm a business, so what do I need to be doing right now? Or what do I need to be thinking about as I'm creating content?
I think Craig summed it up. His customers are expecting certain things for free. So I think as a business, you're creating content, you think of the content as lead generation or part of a freemium model if you're a content creator.
Okay. Craig, what do you think? So basically that would mean what? For instance, like okay, lead generation. So what are some things I should have on my site if somebody comes in from content that I have shared that goes back to my site? Like, what should I have on my site, Craig?
To be honest with you, what I'm seeing mostly is that people are willing to pay for something as long as the value is there.
Okay.
So, for example, like I see people dropping money all the time for either training or courses or all this different stuff. And I think that really the most important thing is to add as much value as possible. And I think a lot of people are getting more wary, not necessarily of giving up their email, but they're just saying, okay, I've kind of been through this funnel before. Do I really want to add this noise to my inbox? Do I really want this thing? So I think that, I won't go through all the different ways and all the different types of pieces that you can use for lead magnets, but I think the common thread is just make it like mouth-watering, make it so valuable. And that doesn't mean that you have to give away all your trade secrets or anything like that, but it comes back to really understanding what your customers want, talking to their pain point, and then selling the benefits. And this is one of the things I talked about in my talk is a lot of people talk about this is the product or the feature or the thing you're going to get. I think that a lot of people misplace that by selling what their product is or selling what their business does. I think there needs to be a shift in these lead magnets or anything that you put out there, and it doesn't really matter what it is. You're going to find the thing that works, whether it's an ebook or some sort of an opt-in or free 20 images download. I think the point is you got to define what your customer will experience after they consume your content, and then try and add as much value to that as possible, and really speak their language.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good point.
So,
excellent points.
So, do we have any questions, by the way? If not, we'll move on to the next topic.
No, we had some comments from Eddie. Let's see, we covered Eddie's. Chris Farrell and Cheval John both said Twitter is great, and Twitter chats are great for finding out the news. So everybody's, I think, on the same page on the instant articles topic, which I think would bring us to our fourth and final topic. So this one is good, and this one is really for a specific business, but topic 4 is from Mashable, and it came out, what day is this released? 2 days ago. So this, I thought this was pretty creative. A restaurant is bringing in what they're calling Instagram kits, so you can nail down your quote-unquote food porn shots. So making your avocado toast pop on Instagram requires a unique formula that isn't always possible to achieve. So this one London restaurant called Dirty Bones is offering foodie Instagram packs, so diners can up their food porn game. The free kits contain a portable LED camera or a camera light, multi-device charger, a clip-on wide-angle camera lens, and a tripod selfie stick for overhead table shots. Kits have been designed to provide Instagrammers with everything they need to capture the perfect Instagram shot. People love to share what they're eating on social media, so we wanted to, this is the designer, I think, from the restaurant. So we wanted to put together something that made it easier to get that perfect shot regardless of the lighting or the time of day. And really, the reason they did this, and they also designed the entire restaurant to basically be Instagram friendly, or to, the improved lighting and things like that. They realized that the shots that people are taking, if they're taking better pictures of the food that they're having at the restaurant, that's good for the restaurant because people are going to Instagram to review what other people have seen and what they've eaten. And it's a really shrewd business move. They essentially, if restaurants can't prevent people from tagging them in Instagram posts, then attempting to improve the quality of those shots might be their only option. And I think it's a really good option. The menu has also been curated to provide picture-perfect shareable content with new trending dishes such as fish tacos standing alongside their Mac Daddy burger, etc. So I think this is a really shrewd and very intelligent business move, and I'm assuming that this could also work on Pinterest. It's also, any post to Facebook or anything like that. They've really put together a way for people to share better pictures of the meals that they're eating at the restaurant. Craig, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm laughing. I'm thinking, all right, so you're going to go out for date night, right?
Right.
Michael Bay is going to come in and sit down at the table next to you, and you're in this beautiful atmosphere, and he starts popping off explosion kits. And
Right.
wow, that meatloaf is going to look amazing on Instagram. But what's that going to do for your experience if he starts popping off flash bulbs and explosions and comes in with comes in with Megan Fox and she's going to be munching on the food and everything like that. I think honestly, I think it's a clever marketing thing. I think that this is just something that they're like, what can we do to kind of get some attention in the media? I can't see that restaurants would actually adopt kits to do this, and I think that there's going to be a crossover of how disruptive you are, when you're setting up these rigs.
Sure.
I guess I think you get the point. But
I
was amusing myself with what that scene looked like, and you're over there trying to enjoy your meal, and all these flash bulbs are going off around you. I think that there's probably I can't think of a different way to do this, but I think the main thing of why people like to take these photos is they like to share their experience, with people. And I think that just like I've taken, I've done this. I like to take pictures of my food to remember what I did, to share it with people sometimes. But usually it's like a beignet or something like that when I'm on, when I'm out in New Orleans or something like that.
Right.
It's not like I'm, if it's fine dining in London, I don't know if I'm going to be trying to set up this thing to do professional shots. Maybe there's a way that the restaurant could, I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm going on a tangent here, but I think there's pride in getting a really cool shot of what you're at the table, a shot of who you're with, a shot of the table, a shot of the surrounding atmosphere. So I don't know if I have much more to add, with that, but it sounds to me like a good marketing article to get some publicity for the restaurant, perhaps.
Yeah, I could see that as well. I could also see getting a bump in, they are just launching this location. It is called Dirty Bones, so I don't know how fine dining it is. It might be more of a, a little bit more of a casual or above casual experience. And so I think maybe in the launch of the restaurant, this may not last forever because it will interfere with the experience. But to get a bunch of good shots by people who come in initially, I think that's a pretty wise idea.
I could definitely see it kind of like as a pop-up thing where like they're going to try this for a little bit. But I guess I was thinking long term, should other people do this for their restaurant? I guess. I didn't know it was called Dirty Bones, but yeah, if it's a bar or something like that has that kind of atmosphere where it's really loud and like you have a lot of things going on and a real fun environment, I could definitely see that where you're introducing these things that aren't going to be distracting.
I agree. If this is a fine dining restaurant, it's not what I want to see, But Christian, what do you think?
I love this idea. So, but here's the thing though. My thought process, it's centered on the fact that I have a culinary arts degree as well. So, I love the idea of this. I'm always thinking ahead. Like when I see cool stuff like this, like you're right. This is not going to fit in every business establishment, in every restaurant. It's not going to fit in your very fancy restaurants where people aren't on their phones. They're not taking pictures of their food and that sort of thing. But I like the fact that. In a way, this could essentially usher in changes in the restaurant industry, maybe, for people to like have this sort of thing. Now, granted, I wouldn't be giving these kits out. Granted, I know that I think it's great that they're going to have, for example, they've got a portable LED camera light, multi-device charger, like clip-on wide-angle lens, tripod. I love the idea that they have all of that sort of stuff. But I would almost like have it almost as like something fun at the table in a way, to encourage diners to use this to take shots and to share them, like almost like an instruction sheet or something like that. Again, this is a great opportunity for the wait staff that's there to come on and say, hey, thanks a lot for dining with us tonight. Just want to let you know our restaurant's taking on, a new, we've got a new thing that we're doing. It's called, whatever you want to call it, and explain the process. And I think people will start to actually look at that and say, hey, this is actually pretty cool, depending on the restaurant that it's going to go in. But overall, I mean, I think that it also that makes me think about restaurants and how, they're there. People are there to wait on, they're there to wait on you. They're there to, make money, for instance, from the tips that they're generating, for them to, for instance, let's say somebody accidentally messes up somebody's, a great overhead shot that they've taken of their food. Is that going to change the amount of money that the person might get tipped, for instance, because that happened? Is this also going to be then something where it could backfire on them if they get too many people coming in and saying, hey, I came in here and, there was an hour and a half wait. Restaurants are also in the business of turning over tables. They've gotten to the point where now they even have policies where if your party is not there, they will not seat you. Even if you have a reservation at 8:30, for instance, they won't seat you. So I love this idea. I think I'd like to see more restaurants test this out. Actually, more casual dining type restaurants. I think that would be probably the ideal place for this.
I think that is a good place for it. I don't want to see this at a high end restaurant if I'm going for a special night out. But I would like to. I actually would like to go to a casual restaurant and see the Michael Bay production that Craig was talking about. I think that would be entertaining. Entertaining part of the experience.
Now, by the way,
I think that the thing that sorry, I was going to say, I think the thing that threw me off is that if we're talking about food porn, hashtag food porn, I immediately go to food that's going to look good shot.
Yes.
So if I'm going to get my burger and fries, am I really going to want to have this whole experience? So that article had a really beautiful photo of the food, and maybe that's kind of what threw me off to think more like a high end to me is just like a great atmosphere or something like that. So I think that's I lost another train of thought there. So I have so many things I'm thinking about this, but it's I remember what it was. I'm gonna see if I can share an article in the feed when I'm done here. There was a really interesting article about how phones, to Christian's point, have totally changed the amount of profit that a restaurant can make, because people will take 20 minutes to a half hour because they're kind of messing around their phone before they actually order, and how that cascades throughout the course of the night. Christian, it sounds like Christian would know much more about that, but I'll share that article. I thought it was really interesting.
That's interesting.
I mean,
Christian, final thoughts on this one before we jump in?
I think this actually opens up, businesses to possibly generate. Here's the thing. I actually see this almost as a cost savings for a restaurant, having these kits available. For instance, I think it's a cost savings because here's the thing. If I go look on, for instance, Yelp, I go look on Google Maps, and I'm looking up a business, and I see, all their photos. Their photos, most of the time, if they've paid photographers, they don't look exactly like what you get on the plate. It's all staged. And I think overall, this will, one, help them get real quality shots. Two, I think it will encourage more and more people to talk about their restaurant and to visit some of these other, potential tools as a result. So I think granted, it'll cut out photographers a fair amount because, the photographer is going to be the actual customer, which I see nothing wrong with that. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, good. Well, we're getting close on time here, Christian. We better knock through these tools.
Sure. Let's talk about some tools real quick. So actually, we'll talk about one tool tonight, actually, and we'll put the other one up in the blog post. How's that sound?
Yeah, let's talk about one.
Okay.
That's good.
So one of the tools for this week on Social Chatter is a tool called Sticky AI. Now, Sticky AI, it is from the makers of Prisma. For those of you who happen to remember that tool, Prisma was an app where you could take a picture and you could, for instance, turn yourself into a colored pencil drawing, You can do some really nice shots with it. So what Sticky AI is, it's using artificial intelligence to create your own selfie stickers incredibly fast. Really, really, really cool idea. You basically, you can do like for instance, what you do is you launch the app. It opens your camera. You can hold the button and just snap a series of photos. It automatically cuts out the background for you, so you don't have to do anything. And then you can add some text, change the color and whatnot, and you now have your own selfie stickers that you can share with people. So these are actually really cool. I played with this actually over the weekend. I really like this, and it's a free app actually.
So this is similar. Snapchat actually has this already. They have the sticker. It seems similar, I should say, to the Snapchat ability to cut out stickers and create your own sticker. You have to do it by the image that you capture, but
now does the background help for you, or do you have to do it? Or
no, you have to cut it. We use your finger to cut, so it doesn't cut the background out, but it's similar.
Very cool. Craig, have you tried this one before?
Yeah.
It just popped up on my phone as one of the trending things, trending apps, but I've not tried it. I just, text message. Like, I'm kind of like Nick. I think I use my laptop a lot to text message people for productivity purposes. Okay. It sounds pretty cool, though. I think the more and more people can customize things and kind of put their own stamp, and we see that with my tool as well. The more that a brand can customize and add their own flavor to something, it makes it a lot more fun and genuine and entertaining for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah, very much so. Christian, you want to wrap us up tonight? I want to thank Craig for being our guest. Craig, great to meet you. Really appreciate your input tonight. And Christian, what do you got for us?
So just a quick heads up, everyone. First off, I also want to say, Craig, thank you so much for joining tonight. Sharing your knowledge. I'd love to chat with you more about all this technology. I think we share a lot of similar viewpoints. So thanks a lot for being on tonight. Just a quick wrap up from me, and then we'll bring Craig on to have people learn where they can connect with him at. But basically, week for next week's show, we're taking a break next week. We are going to have a blog post. We're not going to be live on Facebook. I'll tell you more about that later on in a couple weeks. But so next week, no live show on Thursday nights, but we will have a blog post going out on Fridays. And for those of you who want to get the recap from tonight, we've got some additional tools and stuff. You can go to socialchefs.com/subscribe. So go ahead and let's bring Craig back up. And you want to wrap it up, Nick?
Yeah, Craig, how should people get in touch with you, should they want to, after your excellent performance here tonight?
I like how you phrase that. How should people get in touch with you? Should they want to? I know what you meant, but I got a kick out of that. No, you can find me at Craig Carpenter on Twitter, and my company is relaythat.com, relaythat.com. And I try and add a little bit of value to the show here. We're actually relaunching a beta of the entire app. So for anybody that's stuck through and seen this till the end, you can actually go to app.relaythat.com after you create your account, and you'll get early access to our 2.0 version, if you will. So that'll be kind of a little a nice to have if you want to get in early on something. A lot of people love to test new technology and new versions of things. So I thought I'd kind of throw that in there if anybody wants to try that out.
Very cool. Very cool. And Twitter is probably the best place to get a hold of you?
Yeah, anywhere is, to be honest with you. Okay. For someone that tries not to be everywhere, you can find me pretty easily through those channels.
Very good. Well, thank you, Craig. And Christian, wrap it up.
So for those of you who want to connect with us, you can check us out on all of our social channels at Social Chefs. So Facebook.com/Social Chefs. We're also on Twitter. We have a YouTube channel where we publish our social snacks along with video replay of social chatter, and then also on Instagram. So we will see you all, let's see, not next week, but the week after. That would be, the 27th, actually. Mm-hmm. So thanks a lot, everyone, for watching, and we will see you later on. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.